Hey, what's up guys, welcome to this video. So this video is a Django Ajax tutorial. So it's like a full tutorial where you're gonna go from zero knowledge to building your Django project with Ajax. So we're gonna be talking about two different ways to implement this in your project. So the first thing we're gonna be looking into is listing live data in real time. Now what I mean is, as you can see on this page, we have this list of data. So if I come here and add a new data or a new object to my database, without reloading this page, it's automatically going to reflect here. So it's a real-time data. And the second one we're going to be looking at is submitting a form in Django without page refresh. So using Ajax, we're going to submit a form without refreshing that page. Now this video is going to be a very good one and you're going to gain a lot from it. So let me show you the first thing we're going to build. So you can see I have list of this data right here, these names right here, and this is connected to this model. So right here you can see we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6. Now if I add a new profile and I just say test2 and I say test2@g.com, so and I say I am test2. So now when I save, you can see that automatically test2 is added here without refreshing this page, without touching this tab. It's automatically added here. So this data is real time. It's fetching everything for us in real time. So that's the first thing we're going to be building. So guys, the second thing we're going to be looking into in this tutorial is how to submit a form in Django without page refresh using Ajax. So I have this form connected to this model. Let me refresh. So you can see I have this particular amount of objects in this model. So if I come right here and I just input a name and I say test's name, and then right here also I just say test@g.com, and I can just say I am a test as the bio. Now if I hit submit, you see that this page doesn't refresh, but it gives me as alert that new profile created successfully. If I come to my database and refresh, now you should see that I have a new object with those data that I just input or that I just submitted. So this is the second thing we're going to be building in this video. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this Django Ajax tutorial. Having that said, let's dive straight into the first part. So guys, let me just quickly show you what I've done in this project. So basically what I just did was to create a new project, a new Django project, and I named it test proj. And then in my models.py file, I created a new model named profile, and it has 3 attributes, which are name, email, and bio. So I registered this profile model in my admin interface so I can edit and view my model. And then right here I just created a new view which is index, and then this index just basically renders this index.html page right here. So it is in this index.html page that we're going to be getting the latest or the live data of everything we have in this model, in this profile model. So let's get straight into it. So the first thing we need to do is to just come into urls.py file, and then let's create a new URL. So I want to create path. Let's say get users. Now let's name this get profiles. Yes, so I can just copy this. Views.get profiles. And then let me name it get profiles also. So now we have this new URL which is get profile. So this is the URL that is going to be like that we're going to send a get request to, and then it's going to basically send back a JSON response with all the details of that profile model. You're going to understand what I mean in a second. So let's continue. So right here, as you can see, I put views.get profiles, but as of now we don't have any function like this, so let's go ahead and create that. So we're just gonna do create a new function, use get profile, and then for sure request. Yeah, and then what we just want to do now is to first of all make sure that we have that model we are dealing with. We want to have it imported. So right here you can see from .models import profile. So I already have this profile model right here imported in my views.py file. So I can then manipulate this and then change it to a JSON response. So what I just want to do now is to say prof, something like this, equals to profile dot object dot all. So I think I can name this profiles. So profiles equals to profile.object.all. So what this is doing is that it is getting a list of all the objects which we have in this profile model. So all the data that is registered in there. And then what I just want to do when I have this is to return a JSON response to our front end or to anything that is asking for this particular data. But before I can use that JSON, before I can try to change to a JSON response, I need to import something from Django called JSON response. So Django has this built-in function which allows you to, let's say, render your view or this particular function as a JSON response. So we're just gonna do from django.http import JSON response like this. And then once we have this done, it's easy. All we just need to do is to say return. Let's make sure we have that indented. Return JSON response with our curly braces, and then we're just gonna do profiles should be a list of profiles dot values, and then we add this like a function. So now this is all we just need in the back end part. So as you can see, what we're just doing is we're accessing this profile model or the object there, and we're storing it in this variable called profiles, and then we're returning a JSON response, and right here should be profiles. So we're returning a JSON response with a variable name of profiles, and then it's just a list of these profiles dot values. So it's getting the value of everything from here. So we can just save this right here. Now let me come into our index.html. So right here, as you can see, we're not really dealing with the design. We don't really want to like pass that or anything. What we just want is for our backend, for what we want to do to be working. So we can just have a simple h1, and it can say lists of live data like this. And then now we can have a ul, which is a list. So now in this list, I want you to just list, let's say, the names. So right here, you can see that in this profile, we have a name attribute. So we just only want you to list all the names we have in this profile model. So for now, I'm going to leave this blank. So I'm going to use Ajax. As I said in the beginning of this video, everything we're dealing with here is Ajax. So ul, and I'm just going to give it like an ID. So let me give it like an ID of display here. Let's say display data. So something like this. So this is the ID. And then before we can get started with using Ajax, we need to make sure that we have jQuery imported. So to use jQuery or Ajax, you just need this script right here. So you can just copy this script and just put it in your code. So we need that line of code in our HTML just so that we can be able to use Ajax. If you don't have that, it won't work. So now all we just need to do is to go to script. So we're creating a new script, a new JavaScript to be precise. And then now we're just gonna do like a new function. So we can say $, as always, document dot ready, and then let's have a function. So right now we got this. So let's just put our semicolon, dealing with JS. So now what we just want to do, first of all, let's set an interval. So this interval is saying what is the time gap in which it should be requesting for this particular data. So is it every 1 second, is it every 2 seconds, is it every 3 seconds? So that's why it can get data live, because it's requesting for that particular data every second basically. So if the data is changed, it requests for a new one, and then it has it with the updated changes. So if that makes sense. But let's continue. You're going to see the end product of what we are building. So let's set interval, let's say function. Yeah, so now let's set it to like 1,000. So right here we can just put the semicolon. So right here in this function, let's use Ajax. So let's say $.Ajax, and then what we just want to do is to start like this. So first of all, we put our semicolon again, and then we say type. So we want to send a request using the get method. So you know there is get and post. So for these we want to use the get method. So now get to this URL. The URL we want to send it to is so let's just say URL, and then we're sending it to the get profiles URL. So right here in this URL right here. So let's come back, and we know that that URL is the one linked to this get profile function, which is getting all the data. So once we send that, it should return a response. So now that we are sending requesting for all these, let's have our success function. So if it's successful, that means if it successfully gets that data, let's have a function, and then we'll say response, and then let's just say console.log. It should just print out the response. And then as we are getting if it's successful, we also want to know if there was an error, if an error occurred. So we also have a function for our error. So we'll say function response, and then if there is an error, what we just want to say, we just want to alert, and then we can just say error getting data, or an error occurred. So now let's save this. Now that we save this, let's come into our browser and hit refresh. So this should be up and running in, yeah. So you can see it says list of live data, but obviously it's not showing us those data we need. But first of all, let's open our developer tools. So right here we should see it getting the data in real time. So let's see if we come to console right here. So yeah, as you can see right here in our code, we said if it's successful, it should console.log response. That means it should show us what it's doing, the response. It should show us what it got from the backend. So right here you can see it's getting all the data in real time. If I open just one of it, you can see right here, you can see that it gets 4 data from the backend. So Tom, Tim, Henry, and Jasper. So let me quickly go to our models right here. You see that I already have those 4. So let me hit open, and then once I open this, you're gonna see those 4 data right here. So you can see we have 4. The first one is tom@gmail.com. I am a nice guy. You can see that that's the same thing it got here. tom@gmail.com. I am a nice guy. So you can see that it's getting all this data in real time. So now let me show you what's pretty cool about this. So if I come here, profiles, and I delete the last one, let's say I delete this, delete, and I hit go. So you can see now we have 3. I come here, I don't refresh this page, but you can see now that it's getting just 3 objects now. It's ready, it's in real time. Any update made right here automatically is affected by the response it's getting right here. So now if we're showing all this to our user in the front end, whatever is going on the back end, anything updated is what is going to be here. That's what is going to make it live. So if there's a new data inputted or there's a new data added, it's going to reflect here. So you can see now we have 3. We don't have the last one again. Let me open that quickly. We only have Tom, Tim, and Henry. We don't have the last one. So now that we know we are getting all this, let's just basically show it here. That should be the easiest part, I think. So right here where we have our success function, let's just comment that out. So instead of doing console.log, what we can also do is to display. So let's say $, and then we're saying hashtag display. Now what we are doing is we are getting this this UL tag, this list tag, using its ID. So its ID is display data. So let's come here. This should be display data, not just display. So display data dot empty. So what this dot empty does is that, first of all, make it empty before we do anything. So after that, we're going to use a for loop, and we're going to say for var in response dot profiles. So for all the keys in response dot profiles, what we just want to do here to say var temp, just like a new variable, should be equals to, and now what we want to do is to just have a new list tag. So in here, if you know HTML, you know how list tags work. So we have the UL, then inside the UL we have the list. So we're just looping through this, but we want to have it as a list tag. So we're going to write the whole new list tag right here. So let's just close that list tag, and then right here we need to put a double quote, and then we just use the addition sign, and then we say response dot profiles key, like this, dot name. So we're just getting only the name. So right here, this should totally work. So we have this this line, and then what we just need to do is to just append it to this tag. Yeah. So right here, we're just gonna do the $sign again, and then hashtag display data dot append. So now we want to append it. We want to append this temp variable to it, temp, and then dealing with JavaScript, we add our semicolon. So this should work finally. Now let's go ahead and test our data. So let's come here and hit refresh. Okay, you can see it's not showing. Let's open up our developer tools. Okay, so we got an error right here. So we have a syntax error right here. So it says at this display data dot append temp. So right here there is an error. Okay, invalid. Yeah, so I think it's because of the ID in which we gave it. So we can just remove data basically and just put only display. That should also work. Same thing. So we just do this. So let's save it. I don't think we should have that error. We should be getting that error again. So let's go back and hit refresh. We still got that error. So some message have been in line 25. Okay. So right here, this is where the error is occurring. So obviously we need to fix something right here. So we got these here, and then we got this function closing here. Good. And then we got that function closing there, everything should be correct. And then right here, so we don't need this first of all. We do not need that. And then the $sign display. So the reason why we have all this error in the first place is just because we didn't add this or double quotes. So we could still have used right here, we could have used display hyphen data. So we can use that if we want, but I don't think we need it. So let's just make sure we get this fixed. So that's why we're having that error. As you can see, everything is gone. Now let's hit refresh. Good. Now you can see right here that we have Tom, Tim, and Henry. Everything is here, but we have to test it if it's real time. Before we test it, let's make this quite bigger. So we can do that here. And let's say an H2 should be fine. And then let's close the H2 right here. So let's hit refresh, and then yeah, so that's good. Our data is showing up. And then let me put this, if I can drag it out, yeah, right here. This should be this. Good. Nope, come here. So now I want to add a new one. Good. Yeah. So this is just to show you that as I hit save, it's automatically going to add to the list right here. So let me say test user. I'll say test user at g.com. I am a test user. So now let me save right here, and then I hit save. You can see without even touching this page, it is automatically added to the list. Now that's how powerful Ajax is. That's how useful this tool can be when building any project. So you can basically integrate this into any project you are building. It's a very great tool. So I hope you understood what we did in this part. And yeah, if you did, yeah, just test it out, implement it in your project. It's gonna be a great one. And yeah, thank you for watching this session. So guys, now that I have shown you how to show your data live in real time on your front end, now let me show you how to submit a form using Ajax without refreshing that page. So you know, the traditional way of submitting a form is that you set an action in your form tag, and then once the submit button is has been hit, or once you hit the submit button, it's gonna take all those data to another page and then perform a specific task. But Ajax can change the way that is. So with Ajax, once we hit submit, the page is not going to refresh. You're not going to be taken to another page, and that form is going to be submitted to the database. Now that sounds pretty fun, right? So let's get straight into it. So we might still use a similar code to this, but first of all, let's remove all of these. We don't need this again, and let's just say submit form, something like that. And then let's have a new form, and then with an input, first of all with a label or something like this with a p tag, and we'll say name, and then an input type text. You gotta have a name should be name, and then an ID of name also. So we got all this. We can just copy paste it. Let's make sure we got the br tag. The next one is email, and the last one is bio. So let's just make those changes. So first of all, the type is an email, name email, ID email, bio, and then ID bio. So after this, we just add last input, and the type is the submit button. Let me just type it. So right here, submit. So we have all this, but before we can use this in our Ajax or whatever I want to do, let's give it some attributes. So an ID of post form, and then let's also give it a method of post like this. So this should be fine. So before we come back here, let's first of all go into our URLs, and then we're gonna have a new URL, and then let's name this one create. Just change this. So we're naming this create, and we'll make sure to have our comma. And then in our views, we also need to have a new function named create. So let's have it down here. So def create requests, requests, and then now let's just, from this form right here, or everything which is being inputted in this form, we want to get it here. So what we just want to do is, in this function, we're going to say if the request that method is equals to post, that means if there is a form being submitted in a post method, what we just want to do is to get everything that is being submitted. So we have the name, which is going to be request.post, and then name, and then we also want to do the same thing for the email, which should be email, and then want to do the same thing for the bio, which should be bio, like this. So now that we have all these, what we just need to do is to say new profile should be equals to profile, and then let's give it these attributes. So we want to say profile in which name is equals to name, and then email is equals to email, and then bio is equals to bio. So let's come to our models and make sure that these fields are correct. Name, email, and bio, which is the same here. So now that we have given it these attributes, what we just need to do is to say new profile dot save. So this is basically going to save this into our profile data. So dot save, and we give it this. And now let's return an HTTP response, but first need to import that. So HTTP response, and then we will return. This time we are not returning it as a JSON, so we just return a simple HTTP response, and then let's just do something like created successfully, new profile created successfully, created successfully. Yeah, so we have all these right here. We can actually test this with normally. So let's just, let me come here. Okay, so from the last part, so yeah, it says an error occurred because we've changed the stuff and everything. So let's just refresh this page. So now you can see we have a submit button. So let's just say a name or just anything. That's weird. And we can just say a@g.com, and then bio I am hey. So now once we hit submit, it says 403 forbidden. Okay, so right now, because we don't have our CSRF token, let's come here and let's just input that. So we have our CSRF underscore token. We save that, we refresh, and let's say a name a@g.com and say I am a. Good, and we hit submit. So now you see it just come back to this page, it's reloaded. But if we come here and hit refresh, okay, that didn't work. As we can see, it didn't register in this profile, which is not supposed to be. So if we come back here and we pop up in our terminal right here, so as you can see, this JavaScript code is still functioning. So let's just comment that out. We might still refer to that later, so that's why I didn't remove it. But right here, we come to our views.py. Okay, so the reason why that didn't work the first place, because we didn't set an action. So normally I'm not supposed to set an action, but I just want to show you what is going to happen first of all. So action to create. So in index, we set an action to create. So now let's come here and try that again. It should work. It should totally work now. An a name, and then I am a. So like this, and then we hit submit. So it says new profile created successfully, as you can see. But you can see it takes me to another page. But if I come here and hit refresh, yeah, we got a new profile object, a name, a@g.com, I am a. So that's the traditional way of submitting a form. We hit submit, it takes us to a new URL called create. Nah, we don't want this. We want to automate that. I want to make that more modern, if that's the right word. So let's hit refresh and let's come here and remove this action and then this CSRF token. So we're going to use Ajax right now, but right here we don't need to set an interval. First of all, let's remove this, all this commenting. So right here we don't need to set an interval. What we just want to do, we'll say document dot on submit, and then that's where we're going to put. So we'll say dot on, then right here we'll say submit, put that there, put a comma, put another one, and then we use the hashtag post form. So to get that particular form, and then we put a comma, and then that's where we have the function right here. And then here we want to say e. So now I can remove all these. We don't need these at all. We don't need that to be in any function. We don't need these. Yeah, so we don't need, so yeah. So if you understood what we did here, I just changed that and I put document.on. I basically use this new function. So now, as you can see, this is still getting data, but what we want to do now is to submit a data. So first of all, the first thing we're going to do is to prevent this page from reloading anytime we hit this submit button. So to do that, we're just going to say e like this, we'll say e.prevent default. So this is going to prevent the page from reloading. So when we hit that submit button, it ain't going to take it to no page, it ain't going to reload. So right here, we want to use a post method just to be safe. Then the URL we're taking it to is create. So we're taking it to the create URL, and then the data we are passing. So the data is, now let's balance well and write this up. So the curly braces, and then we want to take the name, and then we're taking it with the $, this brackets, hashtag name. I'll make sure we have this right here. So hashtag name, and then .val, which is short form of value. So we got that, and then let's copy paste, and also copy paste. So right here, what we just need to do is to change this to email. So email, and then email.val, and we change this to bio, and then bio.val. So right here we need to put comma to avoid that error, and then the only thing we just need to add now is to input our CSRF token, because we are using a post method. So do input, and then square brackets, name equals to CSRF. So before this, actually we are meant to add like something like this, the name. So it should be CSRF middleware token. Yeah, then we now put this here. So then from here, which is the name equals CSRF middleware token, the same thing which is going on, and then we just close that square bracket, close it right here. This shouldn't be here. Good. So this is the way it should look like, and then we're just gonna put this right here, and we're gonna say .val, which is the short form of value. So we put a comma just to be safe, and then yeah. So right here in the success, so we have successfully taken this to this create URL, and right here in the success function, we are not doing all these. We don't want to do this, and I don't think we need this error function. First of all, let's remove this, and then in the success function, let's also remove all of these. Good. So right now, what we can just do is that this function, let's say data. So what this data stands for is the response. So you can see we're returning an HTTP response. So this is basically seen as data in the JavaScript in the front end. So whatever is in here, which is new profile created successfully, is this data. So first of all, let's test out our code. Let's hit refresh. Let's just put some dummy stuff right there actually, and then rubbish, and hit submit. Okay, as you can see, nothing happens, but I'm very sure that if I open my inspect tool right here, it says fails to load this. Right here we can see there is a problem. So it says value error. Does create didn't return an HTTP response, it returned none. So it didn't return a response. First of all, let's come here and see. So as you can see, the code didn't work. It didn't return a response. So let's hit submit again to see. So right here you can see there's a problem with it posting to this create. So there's a problem with the create here. Okay, so let's see if we come back to our code. Let's see where the problem is coming from. So right here It's taking it to the create/create, same thing. So it's taking it to /create, and it's getting all these values. Yeah, so if it's submitting all the value, it should return an HTTP response. Yeah, so this is what, yeah, it's correct. Actually, this is what is supposed to be here. So let's make sure. Suppose we got all of this. Yeah, so everything is complete. Good. Yeah, then it's returning this. So right here in the index.html, let's come back to this. It's submit. So we got this error here, which we need to resolve. So right here, 403 forbidden. So yeah, good. So right here we can see that there's a problem with the Ajax, with it using the Ajax from the beginning. Okay. So let's come back to our page, and then in the success, let's just have an alert function saying of the data, like this. Let's have an alert function of the data. Yeah, so right here we can put a semicolon. We don't need this. And then, so first of all, let's make sure that this is indented well. So right, like this, we paste everything. Now let's go check this out again. Yeah, back to our page, and then let's hit submit first of all. And you can see that it still has problems accessing this create. So obviously the problem is from this create. So everything else is now working perfectly, but except for create. So we're gonna come back here. No, not this. Yeah, then URLs. Right here in create, the path name is create, the name is create, and then the views is create. So in our index.html, right here, let's say /create. Shouldn't be the problem, but here in code anything is possible. So okay, everything is loading well, and we submit. So still gives us that error, which is very weird. Let's open it up. Oh, so CSRF value referred. So the main problem that has been giving us since was from the CSRF token. So if we come back here, that simply means that something is wrong with this CSRF token right here. So we say CSRF middleware, yeah, token. Yeah, it should be the dollar, then input name should be equals to CSRF middleware token. Then we basically close this dot value. Yeah, so the CSRF token is correct, but the problem is that we ain't added here. So we just gotta do the CSRF underscore token. Yeah, and then we give it the percentage sign. Yeah, I guess. So let's save this, and now let's see. We shouldn't have any problem again now. Let's give it some rubbish in there, and then again, and then now let's hit submit. Boom, it says new profile created successfully. Great. And now if we first of all check here, yeah, good. Now we come here and hit refresh. We can see we have a new data there. So everything we inputted here, we basically saved here without us having to refresh this page. Now I can do this multiple amount of times. Click OK, hit submit again, click OK. So now as you can see, if I come back here everything was created successfully. So this is a very good, I'll give it a thumbs up. It's a very good way to implement into your project, as I said in the first part. So the things we learned in this video, the first one was getting live data. This second one is submitting a form without reloading the page. Now you can implement these two and build like a project. You can build like a to-do list where a user is gonna submit a form, something like this, but more fashioned and more organized. To-do list, let's say user is gonna write what he wants to do. Let's say go for a run, and then it's gonna hit submit, and the page doesn't have to reload, and then it's automatically submitted to the backend. And you can also use the live data to make sure that it's getting the data live. So immediately a user inputs a new to do, let's say go to the gym, it automatically shows in the list of to do if it gets what I'm talking about in that project. So you can implement this Ajax into your project. It's a very good feature. Now I guess we've come to the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed everything we did in this Django Ajax tutorial. It's very fun. You can try it out. Now thank you for coming away with me through the errors, through the code and everything. If you stick to this part, yeah, that's good. Having that said, thank you so much for watching, and I guess I'll see you in the next one.